All right, for question number 3, we're actually going to kind of start from scratch with a problem like this. This one says if 2 pounds of peaches cost $4.50, 5 pounds cost $11.25, and 10 pounds cost $22.50, what is the unit cost of the peaches? And you might be asking yourself, because benchmark 7 has to do with does a chart or a graph form a proportional relationship, why are we finding the unit cost rate like we did with benchmark 6? But the purpose of this question was to show you how closely related those two things actually are. So what I want you guys to do for this one is come up with your own chart. And you can draw your chart. It doesn't have to be pretty because mine generally aren't. So you can draw it so it looks something like that. This gives me one column here for my labels. This gives me 3 columns for the information I want to plug in. And again, if I'm going a little bit ahead of where you're drawing, go ahead and pause the video. Start it up again when you've got your chart completed. Again, you want to ask yourself, what 2 things am I measuring here? Well, we're measuring number of pounds and the total cost. And again, if you get stuck on what your labels are, look at the numbers within your problem and ask yourself, well, here's the number 2. What does 2 represent? 2 represents the number of pounds of peaches. The number of pounds can be one of your labels, and the $4.50 represents cost. And like I've mentioned to you guys before, whenever you have cost or price or money in a problem like this, if you're creating a chart from this, we're generally going to put that along the bottom. Those are generally going to become Y values. And once you get to Algebra 2, those will be your dependent variables. Because your cost is going to depend on how many pounds of peaches that you're actually going to buy. So, number of pounds across the top, all your numbers that deal with cost or your price are going to go along the bottom. Now we can just fill in the numbers. So at first it says that 2 pounds of peaches cost $4.50. So across the top for my pounds, I can write in 2 pounds. Across the bottom, I'm going to put $4.50. I also have 5 pounds that cost $11.25. So the number of pounds is 5. And the cost for that is $11.25, or 11.25. We don't need the dollar sign in there. And then 10 pounds is going to cost $22.50. So 10 pounds is going to cost $22.50. So again, if you need some time, if you're not caught up with running all your numbers, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and start it up again when you've got all your numbers written in there.
Unless you can clearly identify who's at your door.
All right, then our next step then is if we're going to find the unit rate, we're going to do the same thing as if we are trying to find out what the proportional relationship is, or if one exists. So again, we're going to take the bottom numbers in our chart, our Y values, and we're going to divide them by the top numbers, which are our X values. And if you need to do that, go ahead and write X and Y alongside those rows so that we understand that all these numbers across the top are our X values, all these numbers across the bottom they are our Y values. And just like you did when we were trying to determine a proportional relationship, let's take our bottom number divided by your top number. So 4.50 in your calculator, 4.50 divided by 2, and we're going to get $2.25, or 2.25. And I want you guys to do this for the other 2 columns here. Do the exact same thing. Again, pause the video, and once you have completed your other 2 columns, find out what our rates of change are, go ahead and start up the video again. All right, so let's find out what you guys actually came up with. If we took the $11.25 and divide it by 5, we also get $2.25. So we can write another $2.25 here. Do the same thing for the third column. $22.50 divided by 10 is $2.25. So for one thing we can actually tell from this chart is we do have a proportional relationship because all of our rates of change down here, all these ratios are the same. The second thing that this tells us is, it tells us what our unit cost is. Because if I were to extend this chart, and I wanted the price of 1 pound of peaches, remember, because this is proportional, this is also going to be 2.25. So our unit cost is going to be what this rate of change is. 1 pound of peaches is going to cost $2.25. So as an answer somewhere up here, and you probably want to, if you want to extend your chart and put your answer like that, that's fine. Or off to the side, you can write this as, love it when my colors change like that, $2.25 is the cost of 1 pound of peaches. That's 1 unit. That takes care of our first 3 problems. When you guys get done with this, go ahead and stop the video. And when the time comes, we'll change off to our next station. Good luck.